Hey Fuji friends, my name is Tuan, and with the release of the XT4 last week, just wanted to take some time and chat with you guys about the new XT4 versus some of the cameras that I already own, which are the XT3, the XH1, and the XT2. And just so you know, my thoughts here won't be technical by any means, but more so an in-field use, more my perspective as a Fuji user for weddings, interiors, and then brand photo and video work. And to be honest with you guys, I'm fighting the urge myself to upgrade, so maybe this video is more for me than it is for you. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's start with the XT2. It's the oldest of the bunch, but it's still highly capable. It's also the cheapest right now at $800 to $900 Canadian with the battery grip. This means you'll get the same handling as the XT3 and about 80% of its performance, so it's not a bad deal. I would also recommend this camera for any enthusiasts or casual shooters. It's perfect for family photos, traveling, and just those who want to enjoy photography. Speaking of which, from a photography stance, you won't notice any real difference in quality when compared to the XT3 and the XH1. So when we talk about the video capabilities of the XT2, that's where it falls a little short. The XT3 is much snappier, it's quicker, whereas the XT2 does lag a little bit. That's given, being an older generation, but even so, the XH1 came out around the same time or shortly thereafter, and it's still, I don't know, there's a difference between the XT2 and the XH1 for sure. The XH1 is just a little bit snappier, it's a little bit quicker, again, just a little less so than the XT3, and again, the only reason I even know this is because I use the three cameras, but if you were just picking one up, you probably couldn't tell the big difference. But to sum it up, the XT2 is a solid choice for photography enthusiasts who want to shoot casual video now and then, so it's a good mix for that. And actually a great example is, the XT2 is Aija's primary shooter. She uses it for the majority of her product photos for her candle business. I'll link the candle business somewhere here, maybe throw up some photos. And so you can check it out for yourself. Majority of those, like I said, are with the XT2 and they're fantastic. So the XH1 was the first camera to have in-body stabilization. They've improved it with firmware updates over the years, but it's still not 100% perfect. But you know what? For what I'm using it for, I think it's 80% there. It's good enough. Now, that is what is really cool about the XT4 from the review videos I've seen so far. The Ibis is really, really smoothed out. It looks to me almost gimbal-like, especially if you pair it with like an 18-55 or a lens that has stabilization in it. So the lens stabilization, the body stabilization, and then now even with there's also like a digital stabilization you can put in there. So it's getting better and better, which overall I think is great just for the Fuji landscape and just for photography in general to see technology like this coming. But the main issue I have with the XH1's Ibis is that it is jerky. So right now I'll put up two sample images or two sample clips, and it's just me kind of panning as Aija is working on her computer here, but you'll see that the XH1 has certain jumps in it versus the XT3 where it has more just little jittery, just little handshakes. It's not like full kicks, if that makes sense. Hopefully you can see it there. If you can find one, it's a crazy steal. I'd go for it. It's $1,000 with a battery grip, so you're getting in the same range as XT2. So I would recommend I would recommend the XH1 over the XT2 if they're both the same price range wherever you are. But for me, they had some crazy deals near Christmas last year, and that's when I picked one up. It was a brand new XH1 battery grip, 2 batteries for about $1,300, and so I said, why not? Let's do it. I needed a second body for my work anyways, and the XH1 with Ibis is something I've always wanted to try, so I made that leap. So the XH1 also deviates from the XT series styling, which is obvious for any of you that know Fuji, and obviously you likely do, but it has more of a DSLR style with a deeper grip and the shutter placement more to the front. So this is, it's something that's interesting because a lot of people have complained that the shutter button on the XT series was uncomfortable for them. They complained that they had to, they had to move their finger back, and it was a bit of a strain to, in that position. Whereas on the DSLR style or XH1, it's on the grip itself, so it's more forward, more natural for where your hand naturally lies. But the thing is, for me, I have never had any issues with either configuration. They're both just as comfortable as the others. So to me, it's a non-issue, but I thought I'd mention it for what it's worth. And then the other thing people have complained about for the XH1 is that they say it's too heavy and that the leaf shutter mechanism is too sensitive. And for me, I disagree. I think the body, the grip, everything feels really, really good. And actually, I surprised myself because I heard about the shutter button and like the leaf mechanism in the XH1, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought it couldn't be that great. But to be honest with you, after using it and getting used to the sensitivity and everything, I love it. It's just it's so quiet. There's a really satisfying dampening to it. But I don't know how to describe it other than you have to see for yourself. Because here, I'm going to put up some clips, but either way, even in the clips, you're going to notice that it's still loud as well. Like in person, it just isn't that loud. But either way, it's one of those things you have to feel and see in person because it's just really freaking nice. And now on to the XT3. This is a short one because to me this baby is a beaut. It's my favorite camera for both video and photo work. It straddles the line for both. It's a great, it's a champ for me in both arenas. And now with the XT4, there's a huge influx that I've seen on Kijiji, and so I've seen them for around $1,500, maybe a couple that are a little bit less. So yeah, if you find a deal for low thousands, like maybe the 12, 1300, I jump on it. Like it is, you will not regret having an XT3. I promise you that. Also with my X3, I chose a silver and black combo, and I love it. Again, that retro aesthetic, that feel, it makes it fun. If I ever upgrade to a new body, I think I'll always keep the XT3. I've never used a camera until it completely dies on me, and I'd like to see if I can achieve that. It's like using a nice pen until it fully runs out. So I thought that'd be cool. So anyways, we will see if that's possible. Okay, so the XT4. So to me, if the XH1 and the XT3 had a baby, that would be the XT4. Here in Canada, it goes for $2,200, and which is reasonable for the camera brand new, but it also leaves a ton of room to justify saving a good chunk of change if you bought a used XT3 or XH1. Okay, so the main features of XT4 that is interesting to me, I just wanted to make quick notes here. As mentioned, the new and improved Ibis, clearly, it's killer. I love it. Fuji, please try to give some of that jazz into the XH1 if you can. If not, I guess I'll have to wait until I get another camera from you guys. So secondly, the fully articulating screen. Okay, so this one's interesting because back in the day when the XT2 came out, I told my friend Eric at Henry's that it would be so cool if it just had a flippy screen. Then it would be like the perfect camera. But to be honest, in the past, I think it was a few years later, I can't remember what the timeline was, but I had a Nikon D5600 and that had a full flip screen. And so what's interesting is after using it for a little while, I noticed I really didn't like looking at a screen that was to the left of the body. Just to me, it made everything feel a little off kilter. So you're doing photos, it's kind of like jutting out and you're looking over there, and when it's on a gimbal or you're hand holding, you're still looking to the left, and then I think mentally and physically you've got to just then readjust to kind of counterbalance to the right a little bit. And I don't know, it just it wasn't as nice as looking at a screen that is dead center of the camera, so you're pointing directly where you want it to be. And it's simpler. It's not a huge issue. People do it all the time, obviously, but for me personally, I just like looking at a screen that is centered. And also, I didn't think I would enjoy this as much as I do when you flip the camera into portrait mode or orientation or a vertical shooting. When you have the grip on it and the way the XT3 can flip out 45 in the vertical mode, that's actually really comfortable too. Like I didn't think, I thought maybe it was gimmicky at first when it first came out, but especially with Instagram, and we're doing a lot more portrait shoots now for social media. It's like that. It's that orientation is perfect for Instagram stories and video recording and all that. So having it being able to tilt out 45 really helps you frame things a lot better, rather than just being a flat screen, and so that you can shoot more by your chest or your hip. And anyways, it's actually very useful, more useful than I thought it would be. What else? Oh yeah, so they also added 240 frames per second, which is cool. Will I use it much? Probably not. They also added focus tracking. Now that looks interesting. If that's reliable enough to track subjects, it would make certain video shots a lot easier. That one, I feel like there's a good use case for that. And shout out to my virtual YouTube friend, John Stemba, who is a fellow wedding videographer and a Fuji fan as well. So definitely check out his channel. I'll link it below. In his video, he mentioned the dual SD recording in video mode, which is something actually I didn't think about, or didn't really know the XT3 didn't have that capability. But it makes sense, especially for weddings, or paid work in general, because you don't want to mess up your gig, but especially weddings. I mean, it's someone's special day, so if your SD card corrupts, then you're screwed. So backups are key. So 100% that one, that makes a lot of sense. And I know there are some new Fuji simulations, tone curves. That's cool. All those little software updates there. Hopefully they can just add that into the next firmware upgrades for the XT3. So, and last one is battery. Pros and cons with this one. So good being that you get basically double the battery life from what I've heard, but bad being if you're an existing shooter, you'll have a ton of batteries you can't interchangeably use. For me, I know all mirrorless in general, people complain about battery life, this and that, but if you're using a grip, which I do for weddings and paid work, then it's not an issue. I can go a whole day of shooting a wedding, photo or video, and use maybe 3 to 4 batteries. All right, so let's wrap things up. To sum it up here, the Fuji XT4 is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I think it's really cool. But if you already have one of the Fujis that I mentioned here, then you can hold out a little while. Personally, for me, I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to see what they have in store next year for the XH2. It hasn't been confirmed or denied, so let's hope they are keeping the XH series alive. Okay, so that's it. I guess that is my video essay to myself, to convince myself that I don't need to upgrade just yet. But I'd love to hear what you think. You know what I mean? If there's more compelling reasons that I missed that I should really seriously consider an XT4, let me know. Leave a comment, let's chat it up. I'm a huge Fuji fan, so any questions you have about the lenses, the gear, anything like that, I'm happy to answer and help out. As well as anything that is small business, building websites, getting a business going, that kind of stuff. Any information about that we can share in marketing or starting your own little biz, we would love to help too. That is what this channel is about and what Atomic Pixel is. It's my wife and I creating a small business to help other small businesses get up and running. Again, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, see ya.